in the silence of the night, when the whole neighborhood was asleep, a girl sat crying in the corner of her room. Her name was Sia, just 19 years old. Calm on the outside, storm within. No one knew that her screams were muffled into her pillow every night. Her father's harshness, her mother's silence, and society's narrow mindset, all three had chained her soul. She went to school, but the books couldn't touch the truth she lived with. Every time someone said, "You're lucky to be getting an education," she smiled bitterly inside, because no one knew she was afraid to return home. Every corner of that house held a secret that was killing her while she was still alive. Her father, respected outside, turned into a storm inside those walls. Raising his hand over the smallest things was routine, and her mother would simply shut her eyes as if it never happened. Sia couldn't understand what wrong she had done. Was being a girl her only fault? Her screams echoed through every room, but there was no one to hear them. Sia's biggest fear was her uncle, a man considered pious in the eyes of society but a monster within the house. The first time her mother saw what happened, she just said, "Forget it, like a bad dream." When it happened again, Sia began locking herself into silence. When a child doesn't feel safe in her own home, where is she supposed to go? Everyone had questions, but no one had answers. The uncle's touch started haunting her even in her sleep. Slowly, she forgot how to speak. The smile on her face became just a mask. When her mother noticed, she simply whispered, "If this gets out, it will bring shame." And Sia wondered, is my soul worth just a little shame? Every night she hoped someone would come to rescue her. But deep down, she knew she would have to fight this battle herself. School became her escape. There was one teacher, Mr. Raghav, who read the silent questions in her eyes. Every day he asked, "Are you okay?" And every day she lied, "Yes, sir." But that question planted a seed, the seed of belief. She slowly started doing better in studies, winning prizes. But as soon as she stepped back into the house, the fear returned, and silence followed. Mr. Raghav showed her the world through books. One day, he gave her the autobiography of Kalpana Joshi, a woman who had fought against her abuse. Sia read it all in one night. The next morning, there was a spark in her eyes, a drop of hope in the ocean of fear. By day, Sia was a top student. By night, a broken soul. She kept a diary. "One day, I'll tell someone everything." But the next line would say, "Who would listen?" And she'd answer herself, "No one." Yet Mr. Raghav's words began to echo in her, "Don't run from fear. Fight it." Maybe those words started shifting her thoughts. She started observing people. She realized not every smiling face was truly happy inside. She began talking to her classmates. But her pain, she still held close. Each day, she rehearsed how to break her silence. And then one day, it happened. When her uncle tried to touch her again, Sia for the first time pulled her hand away. She screamed, "Not anymore." That moment was brief, but it was the beginning of a revolution. Her mother saw it, but still said nothing. But Sia's soul was no longer silent. She replaced her diary with a video, recording not her words, but her screams. Her face didn't show, but the storm in her eyes did. She saved that video, didn't share it, just kept it. And every day, she made herself a promise, I will kill my fear. Sia fought her battle alone. She told her teacher everything. He said, go to the police. She did, but the inspector said, keep family matters within the family. She broke down, but didn't give up. She contacted an NGO and told them everything. Now she had a partner in this battle, the truth. The NGO helped her, gave her a safe place to stay, and appointed a lawyer. The case went to court. But soon the village started whispering, she's accused her uncle. Wherever she went, people looked at her as if she were the criminal. But Sia had understood, speaking the truth is the greatest act of courage. When the case reached the court, the village outcast Sia and her mother. She has ruined our honor, they shouted. For the first time, Sia stood before the village council and said, if staying silent is honor, I don't want that honor. The whole village was silent. Her voice no longer trembled, it had become thunder. That day, for the first time, another woman stood up. This happened to me too. Then another. And another. Sia's voice was no longer alone, it had become a revolution. Months later, the court delivered its judgment, the uncle was sent to prison, and Sia was allowed to stay in a women's shelter. From there, she resumed her education. She started earning by tutoring children. Every day she built herself stronger. Sia was no longer just a girl, she was an example. She began preparing for the UPSC exams, waking up at 4 a.m. to study, working during the day, and fighting inner battles at night. Whenever she felt weak, she would watch that old video, the one with tears in her eyes, and whisper to herself, I will never let that girl break again. Years later, Sia cleared the UPSC and became an IAS officer. That same village, that same council now called her to the stage. The same people now stood and clapped for her. And she said, if I had stayed silent, my story wouldn't have been this big. Now she encourages other girls. Don't be afraid. Speak. She wrote a book, The Price of Silence, which became a bestseller. Her TED Talk went viral. And she became the face of the same NGO that changed her life. Sia now runs a mission, don't be silent, be the spark. She visits schools and teaches every girl, speak up for your rights. Her eyes no longer hold fear. No more tears. Only a radiant spark. Because the girl who once quietly endured. Today, she is the voice of millions. Message of the story. This story teaches us that silence is never the solution. Sia's silence forced her to suffer, but the moment she spoke up, change began. Speaking out against injustice, whether within the home or outside, is essential. This story gives every girl the courage to give voice to her pain, fight her fears, and become her own strength. When one girl breaks her silence, she doesn't just change her own life, she lights the way for generations. So, don't be afraid. Speak. That's the first spark of change.